You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
When you finally boil it all down, magic is imagination. We are moving into an age of manifestation. Things become actually less material, more ethereal. The golden dawn is when we awaken to this new station of life. What you think becomes real quicker. Regain our imagination, regain our inner child, and let that inner child out.
My name is Frank Castle, founding member of the music group Heist and New York City Neo Shaman. After a serious injury sidelined my career in 2013, I decided to set out on an adventure to search for myself with the help of the plant medicine Ayahuasca. What I discovered waiting for me was something I could have never prepared for. It was time for me to become something more, someone more. It was time I became fearless. Shine as my heart beats a rhythm with space and time. When the light starts to shine inside your third eye, you awake to the knowledge that you never die. Oh yeah, we are live. It's Saturday night, and welcome to the show. This is Fearless. I'm Frank Castle, and I'm sitting here with my etherical translator, the prayer warrior herself, Paula.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. We were just sitting here talking about all the crazy things that happened this past week, and we want to tell the story, but as well as not just talk about the past stuff, like relevant stuff that's now. But before we do that, let's say shout outs to Chris and Cherie.
Of course.
Yeah, wherever you are, make it TFR. We want everybody to go, and what do we want them to do?
We want them to subscribe. To truthfrequencyradio.com. Get a subscription.
You can download the app.
Yeah, download the app.
There's something for everybody. They have like 3-month subscription, month by month for
Pick
the full
one that
year.
fits your budget.
Yeah, whatever it is. Remember, everybody here is, it's listener supported. So, rock and roll with that. Here's my disclaimer. Remember, everything I do and I talk about on this show, I don't suggest you go run out and do. This is my experience, and let's talk some more about it. Check out the music, HeistClick, YouTube, Amazon, iTunes, Xbox. I love saying that. You go on Xbox and PlayStation, and you can download Heist music. Check out the song Supernova with Chris Gio and myself from the last album, Heist The Conspiracy. Shout outs to all the other hosts at TFR. These guys are fantastic. I actually love being a part of this.
Yeah. It's a great
I've
family.
built things in the past. I've built up, my stories from Heist and when we were just the Heist, and we had stuff even before then, and all these crazy supernatural stories that lead up to all this. But I've never been happier than I am right now.
Well, it's always now.
So I want to. It is always now, right? So thank you all for being here, and we had an intense week.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for the positive vibes that have gone out. Everybody in my family seems to have hit like a bottom shelf. Everyone is injured or has been sick.
One way or another.
And my house has turned into like a little bit of a hospice.
Yeah, triage.
Yeah,
Triage
I feel like, remember MASH, the show MASH? Yeah. When people would just come in and then we'd be casually talking while working on them. It's just really interesting. But the family is coming together, and it's super strong. But you actually had an interesting week.
Yes.
So let's talk about what you did.
So I contacted Kristy Belich, and I mentioned her last show. You can get her information on Facebook, Kristy.travels, or YouTube, Kristina Belich, Kristina, Belich, Belich. So she gave me an astrological reading.
Wow,
And
how did that go?
It was amazing.
It
It was absolutely amazing.
Listen, we only support those that we know work.
Absolutely.
For
You
the
have to go
benefit.
check her out, have her get, and I'm not saying this just, I love her. She's the cutest thing I've ever seen. But she was on the money. I mean, she told me she pinpointed things that I don't even know.
It was kind of like what she did with me, right?
Yeah.
And she just looked at me and started rattling things off.
Yeah,
and I was like, how
rattling
did you
things
know
off, yeah.
that? Like I would never tell anyone some of those things. You knew some of them and you were like looking at me
I
like,
was
oh my
shocked.
goodness.
Yeah.
So is that what happened to you?
Oh yeah, it was amazing.
So-
And everything that I'm feeling now, there's a very direct and a very direct reason why I'm feeling this way. So I felt very validated after talking to her about a lot of things, because a lot of things have been going on with me. I recently left my full-time job of 12 years at a Fortune 50 company, and
That must have been intense.
yeah, it was very intense. I mean, I had family that are still in disbelief about this.
When
but,
I talk about losing everything and you wind up letting go to attachments and all these crazy things, you're going through something as well.
oh, absolutely,
Like this.
definitely, it's a big shedding now, and talking to Kristy had made the
Validation.
Yeah, she validated the reason why I needed to make the changes I'm making now. It was just amazing.
It's funny when you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Right? And then they say you change, the world changes with you, and then you start to manifest and people start to come into your life that it's like like what you need is now arriving.
Yeah.
From what you let go of or had to shake off or lose, now you can gain. But the right things are there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what
Everything is the way it's supposed to be now. And, I mean, I don't want to take a lot of time on this, but we truly are living in now. And the more you try to fight it, the more you're just getting more of what you're trying to fight, and just stop fighting.
It's like karma is repaying you so much faster, right? So like I slap you in the face and I turn and I'll fall on a banana peel and smack my head on the floor. Like it's kind of getting to that.
Yeah.
Right?
You
Like,
repay your karma much quicker now.
Much quicker. We're seeing it. We've had a lot of people around lately. And a lot of mix of interesting things where it could have gone bad, but it went absolutely good in the crazy. And we're all picking up on these things. And we're all, I think, one person sees the next person doing it. And instead of talking and interacting in a drama, everyone's just lending a helping hand. And then smiles are erupting instead, even though there's been some painful stuff happening. Yeah. It's that everyone seems to be... There's so many, and each one pulls a little bit of the weight from the next person over. Yeah. Well, it's really nice, and that gives you a positive outcome to things instead of these negative events constantly. It's like I do, and then you show up, and you start doing, and we start talking, and then it becomes not drama. It's interesting conversation. We notice the synchronicities. We discuss it openly. Now, tonight, I'm going to discuss some interesting stuff. When you said shedding.
Oh, definitely.
Okay. Shedding of the skin, snakes, lizards, reptiles. Okay, there's a couple of things that are going on tonight. So they know Paula doesn't agree with me on everything. Just so you guys know, what is the one thing we kind of?
I have a different view on the whole reptilian idea. The reason they're here, how. I believe they're encoded into our DNA. They're friendly. Frank had a more negative experience, I would say.
A couple of them.
With a couple of them, but I don't view it that way. And it's funny because it came up in my astrological chart. And, if I ever needed validation that, what I was saying, what I was even thinking about saying out loud was true, Kristy went in and validated that for me too, so I was shocked.
Yeah, she hit me with the hey, you have a bit of a percentage of reptilian in you, and that's why they come. Because if you have, like, let's say, a percentage of another being in you, most likely you're going to be tied to them etherically,
Yes, one way or
and
another.
spiritually and all kinds of, yeah. And it's when that part of them is in you and they're leveling up and becoming advanced in their ways, and they are older races and all kinds of stuff, but they have to help you level up at one point or another, because it helps them level up. And then you in turn do that to the next one down, who has your percentages. It would just be your DNA and all that. But this is why they're all interested in us, because we have large amounts.
Well, it's a fight for their survival. Our survival, I believe, depends on their survival depends on our survival.
Right, because you can't keep going up if you ignore the ones that need your help, so to speak. So that's pretty interesting, but it gets into a little bit of what's happening in the story this week.
Yeah, I know. That's great.
Yeah, see, this is how the synchronicity lines up. All right. Last week, we left off with Anubis and the bed of snakes.
Yes.
And stripping of my own demon. During this experience, and this happens sometimes where the story is so big within the experience, within the 4 hours, 5 hours this is going on, plus, added into, leading into the experience. I had to do this in chunks. So in between some of the events from last week's story, these events took place. It was just I got really spirited last week and just kind of went for the gold in the story.
Yeah.
But there's so much more important stuff that is also in there. So this was my first solo neo-shaman adventure, kind of making it, practicing over and over and failing, even though I have the knowledge. I had no technique. People think like, well, you know how to do it, so just do it. It's like, well, I memorized it from the book, but I've never actually did a hands-on thing.
Right.
So then you realize there's no technique. You have no technique, and then you have to develop one. So it finally success.
That's really cool. That's really cool that you just said that you just tied that in, finding success.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you said you failed 9 times and then on the 10th time it worked.
Yeah. And I was able to help talk others through it, knowing it like a recipe.
Oh, yeah, I've heard you.
So, but myself doing it was weird. I was like, wow, I should just be able to do this. But that just goes to show, like, I do all kinds of music, but I can't play a musical instrument. Right? So I do it's frustrating that I can't play, because sometimes I have to get it from my head into another musician's head so he can. It's frustrating with no technique, but this one worked. So here we go. I found myself listening to Aikiros meditations, which is like from ayahuasca ceremonies.
Okay.
You'll hear people throwing up in them because they're live recordings and everything. Yeah. Well, it gives you a very earthy feel because you're drinking something earthy as it gets. And you actually, when you start to lose your sense in the whole thing, when you hear the music and it's bumping in the room and you could hear all the sounds, you could hear the crickets, you could hear the shaman shaking his little, all right, you feel like you're there at one point. As the depictions of what the shaman was singing about were taking place, I was seeing insects. There were all brown in color, spiders, these little creepy crawly things, these beetle-looking ones, right? And they looked like they came out of a tree that just was next to me, because I felt like I was outside, and I opened my eyes, and it's like, wow, look, there's a giant tree, and So they all just come down, they descend on me at once, and they immediately start eating me, right? And I was thinking, oh my, this is scary, right? What are you guys eating? I would have
been terrified.
Well, everyone's scared of the creepy crawly, right? Yeah. These things ate a layer off of me that I couldn't tell was there. It was almost like an outer layer that had not been clean for a very long time. And it was smudgy. So when they were done eating...
Oh, so like a film.
A film.
Ugh.
Yes, like a darkness that attached to me that was now not there anymore. Then, like a bigger beetle, like one by itself, it seemed to go across my chest. It reminded me when they were cleaning the hockey arena.
Oh, with the Zamboni.
Zamboni. And it was doing that. And I was saying, hey, thank you for that. And he's like, no, thank you for letting me eat. And I was like, that's
so they feed off that negative energy.
Yes.
Dirty film.
And I was like, well, you talk as well, which is weirder. You know, they don't move their little mouth and talk. They look at you and you hear them. I found that to be very interesting. So I get completely cleared off. Everything leaves from the trees, the background. It kind of goes silent. And then I see like as if the daytime was coming.
Right.
Okay. So now the sun's rising in the same forest looking spot. And I see a praying mantis. And it's on a piece of the tree. And it like came up and just looked over at me. And I was like, oh, look, a praying mantis. And then I hear, you can hear me and you can see me, can't you? And
no way.
Oh. Now I'm looking at it looked like it was slightly distanced away from me. Mm-hmm. When it turned and looked at me, it was like a telepathy, I guess. Because once again, it's just moving. Like it wasn't just sitting there quietly like a praying mantis. It was like excited that I can see it. And I said, you can talk. And it came right up to me. And it was 11 feet tall. I don't know why I say 11 feet. It was the room, but I was laying down and it was over me completely.
Yeah.
And it filled the room.
I would have died.
For some reason, the color of things sometimes dictates the feeling of the situation.
Yeah.
So everything was green and bright.
Yeah, you're very big on the color.
Well, I think color unlocks stuff on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it does. It unlocks areas of your chakras, the different colors. Mm-hmm. We're made of light. So all the frequencies of light and variations of that is within us. And this is where I think it's color-coded. And we can unlock different things within us. Word up, right? Word. Okay, so the mantis comes over to me. And I said, what are you? And he said, you're drinking the tea. Did you drink the tea to come here? And I said, well, yes. And he goes, I did as well, but I don't drink. It's not tea for us. There was some kind of liquid though. And he said, he was sitting out on the branch. This is what they do. And it's a meditation. I said, so you're like a person mantis, right? And he goes, on my world, this is exactly what happened. And he was I said, please don't touch me though, because he was huge and like over me. Like,
I'm sure
I got my hands in her face like nobody could see. I'm like, but it was frightening, but it wasn't though. I felt very like he's not going to hurt me. And it was a he, which was interesting.
Yeah, because you said usually it's androgyny. There's no,
there's
no sex.
Well, because I'll go, hey, look what he looks like. And they'll go, I'm not a he. But it'll sound like a man.
Yeah.
And I'll go, well, I don't understand. And they say, well, there's 7 different versions of what you can do. And I go, 7 different sexes? I don't even understand that. I said, let's not go there.
So back to the mantis.
So the mantis says, I'm very excited that you can see me and I can see you. So we're basically doing the same thing. But all I want to do is show you my people.
So that guy went back and said, I just saw a human in my experience.
He was pink and bald with this giant beard thing. And
he wanted to hug me.
And he's like, don't touch me, but can I hug you? So he showed me, it was like he peered to his side and said, like, look. And it was almost like I could see a movie screen of mantises that were small.
Right.
And he's like, this is us, like insects. And then there was some kind of genetic manipulation at one point. Mm-hmm. Like something came in and interfered, thought they were the higher species on the planet, that green, wherever they were. And that then it became what it was. I mean, I watched it evolve. I watched its people. It was like a line of insects, praying mantises changing. And
so like a history timeline.
Yes, like a history timeline, like the evolution of this. And I was so excited to see this. And I said, you guys like talk to each other like this? And they said, no, we use like sound is communication, and they rub parts of their bodies and make noise, and it means all different things. But it was coming out as English to me because we were doing it there on the other side. And I never felt, I never had a problem with a green insect after seeing this. But I did have a problem when I watched the movie Ender's Game, which was way after this happened.
The very end of the movie.
Yeah, this is going to push back into the synchronicity
No,
of
go
tonight's
ahead.
show.
Go ahead. This is cool.
This giant praying mantis thing at the end of the movie, but it was like white or something.
Explained to the kid.
Comes out, and the kid destroys the whole, spoiler, destroys his whole...
Oh, sorry.
Destroys all the insects, and the praying mantis comes out, and he goes, I'm going to find you a new planet to live on, a new home. And this thing touches his face and everything. Now, I did touch the mantis, because I do touch everything.
I know, you touch
and when I touched it, its claw had a claw within it.
Really?
Right? So it was like a hook thing, and then like a little one, and then like a little one, and it was mushy on the inside, and it like touched me, and I was like, oh, that's not a claw, that's like a mushy part. And he's like, well, that's how we feel things, right? So I could hurt you with the giant claw, or this little piece comes out and I can do that. Well, he does it in Ender's Game, and I remember thinking, I was horrified by going like, this thing's huge, and then this kid was doing it in the movie, which now, after multiple times in ceremonies and going and seeing all these different beings, I'm starting to realize that the movies they know about these non-human entities, and they put them in the movies. They sprinkle them in, and they really give it to you amongst a lot of, BS, a lot of fantasy. It's already fantasy enough.
Sprinkle it in,
and
getting us used to it.
Like the cantina scene in Star Wars, right? As they pan the screen, you see all kinds of crazy stuff. And in between those guys, as you pause those pieces and look, there's the Greys. There's a slight version of the Arcturians and stuff. And they're like dancing and bopping around. And you're like, oh, look, Muppets, they're so cool. And, you see movies like with the little alien running around, whatever they call him. And you're like, oh, look, he's cool. He's saying MF everybody, and he's smoking joints. And he's like a cool buddy. Then when you see these things for real, you go, oh, okay, I get it. You're comfortable with it now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still not comfortable with it, but etherically, nothing really can hurt you, and all these things seem to do is help you. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the scenes change and the situations occur.
This is one part of the experience that you were having.
But for me, I showed it me as well. But it was very upset at me when I showed. This was a time during I was a little Alex Jonesy still, and I had everything was politics and corruption, and it kind of ruined the feeling having those political feelings. I don't know if I'm explaining this right.
Oh, I see. You dirtied the feeling.
Yeah. It kind of messed everything up. So one of the scene changes for me was, hey, what are we really doing with being here? Why? I just watch these insects grow and become people-like. Is that how we did it? Did we just evolve? And they were like, okay, here you go. There was a layer. There was like an amoeba on it. And I looked at it and I said, oh, it's a little amoeba. Right, and it looked like there was a clear shade, like a microscopic piece. When you look under a microscope, you put a clear glass.
Yeah.
Okay, the clear glass was over it, and that thing soaked upward, like it grew upward. It was eating something. It got onto that level, and then became
it kept
like
progressing from there.
It became like a little fish toad thing, and then it started with a glass layer over it. And that thing grew and became here. Then there was a point. It was showing me, and apparently it was like amoeba, water, lizard thing. It was like fish and water and then lizard. Reptilian. And then there was interference with, because there's mammals on the planet and reptilians as well. So they showed me, I guess, the mammalian side. It was interference again with beings. And then there was like a caveman type character, but he was intelligent. He was just shorter, and we were very ballsy, and that we ran up the next slide. It was like running up a staircase to the next one, and then you have to run and jump now. You have to make a leap of faith to become the next part of the evolution. The interference happened. Now it's up to you to make the jump.
To make the
and
jump.
say, I'm deciding to now be part of this. And now we use time and stories, and we write everything down, and we have campfires where we speak and sing about these things. Okay, so it showed me the jumps, though, now that humans had to make. And they were horrendous and horrifying. And they were showing men running and jumping and missing the jump.
So what are you thinking? What are you thinking in your head? I would be going crazy.
I'm like, what is happening to you guys? Why are you? It's like you're running your head into the wall. But then it changed. There was like someone built like a little ladder thing and just threw it over, and instead of jumping, climbed over with the ladder, locked it in on the other side.
So evolved.
Locked it in on the other side, and then waved everyone over, and then someone else hold the other end, and the people started running.
Yeah.
But now the next slide was to jump. You had to stand on the ledge and jump up, and it was invisible. It was like a clear glass. Mm-hmm. It's like where I could fall backwards, but I got to leap up and grab on. But where am I grabbing onto? Like, I don't know how hard I should jump, how high I should jump. So this is getting close to what's about to happen to me. So when we come back from the break, we'll let you know how my leap of faith went.
So exciting. Sign up. TruthFrequencyRadio.com. Sign up and get a membership.
Wherever you are, make it TFR.
Phoenix Rising Radio with Phoenix, Monday through Thursday on Truth Frequency Radio.
Am I a weak or is this a dream? A fantasy where I'd rather be. So come and talk with me. Come and walk with me. Is this a wake-up call from my reality? Have you seen my friends? Have you seen my girl? Wake me up from this. I'm trapped in this world.
All right, we're back from the break. If you like that song, don't forget to check it out. That's under Frank Castle. I have 2 songs out under that. One's Hate Me, and that one there is Come Alive. And you can find that on iTunes and Amazon and everywhere else as well. There's another, character out there, impersonator. So just remember, I am the real Frank Castle at Gmail. If you have questions, please send them in, and Paula would be more than happy to answer your questions.
Oh, yes, I will definitely answer your questions.
All right, so we left off on the break. We were jumping through evolution, so to speak.
Yes, and you were jumping. You didn't know how high, how far.
It was becoming scary. First, I was watching it, and then I was thinking to myself, like, they were falling to their death. But then it was like refresh. It's like you kept getting characters in a video game. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then when the one person made it, everyone made it. So there were daredevils and leaps of,
right.
Faith that were. I would not want to incarnate here and have to make those, any of those things. I mean, consciously, I don't mind, but really, they were showing it to me as if you were leaping off cliffs and jumping up on these
That's what it
levels.
felt like to you.
Yes, and they were like, see how they fall and they fail and they fail, and then they don't fail. And then success. Mm-hmm. And then success. And then the next level. So now I jump with the character. I see myself. It was like I was watching me now jump up to the next level.
Right.
So now I go, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but here I go. And I just go up on my tippy toes and then like an inch up, and I grabbed on, and there was like a bar, like an invisible bar. And I pulled myself up, and now I had new understanding. I was like, wow, we did it. Wow, this is what's going on. This is fantastic. And then it said, okay, but that's not now. That was then. We're here.
Right.
And they brought me to a ledge. And I said, well, this isn't part of anything else. There's nothing on the other side. And they said, well, there's another side. You see out on the horizon that there's another peak all the way out there. They're like, you're going to have to go over there if you want to evolve now to the next step.
So you have to make the jump again.
Yeah, but this is I was like, this is impossible. I don't know who you think I am that I could make a jump like that. Then, now that I'm awake out of it, it translates to the Matrix when he jumps off the building and he was supposed to jump building to building. It was very much that. Except I started crying that I didn't want to jump. It was too real for me. I said, no, I'm not making that jump. I don't have no desire to do this. I'm cool right here. I don't know why I have to leap over this to do anything. Like, I didn't get what I was doing.
Right.
I thought I was just watching the evolution. I didn't know I was about to evolve by having thrown myself off a cliff and jumping to the other side. So they said, and when I say they, I believe it was Aya and my higher self, like sitting with
working together.
Yeah, working together with me. It was like a he-she thing going on. And she says, who would you like here to make you feel better, to make that jump? And I said, I want my mother. I know
There's no shame in it.
I want my mother. And I looked up and this weird gray clouded energy just popped into frame, and it was my mother. And she said, oh, my son, wow, look what you're doing. I guess it's your big day. And I said, I don't want to jump. And they said, well, here's a little bonus for you. We're going to let you bring your brother here with you.
Really?
And I turned around, and he was standing to my right, but he was completely red. And he didn't look like my brother at all. He looked like this red golem, like a tall, like a giant. Mm-hmm. Except he was in, like, where I would have leaped off and fell. Mm-hmm. He, like, grew up from there.
Oh, sure.
So he was
like help catch you
waist high, looking down at me now, going, okay, you got to make your jump. He goes, you're going to do it, right? And I says, well, I can't make the jump. I said, well, what if you jumped with me? And he said, well, I'm big enough to just cover it, but I can't pick you up and just put you there. I can kind of put my arm beside you and make it look like it's pushing you. I once bungee jumped, and I made the guy do that. I made him, like, reach out to touch me. And I was like, don't touch me. And I jumped. Mm-hmm. I don't know why that happened. So he said to me, I'll put my hand behind you. His hand was as big as my body. And he goes, and I'll just push it, and then you jump. I says, all right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. My brother's here with me. He's my little brother, and he looks like a giant, red, awesome. I can't even explain. It was almost like, who is he? Where's he from? Where did we get this in my family? Okay, so I go, close my eyes, back up, run, leap, and as I look, the horizon line comes directly at me, like flies directly at me. And I look down, and I notice that the jump was like 3 inches.
Spatially,
it was like 3 inches.
That's amazing.
And my heart was like I leaped so far that I beat it by so much. And I looked back, and I couldn't understand what was happening. And I felt like, oh my God, like that was easy. Why was I so scared? Well, then like, I started dancing. I started doing all kinds of crazy things. And I thought to myself, this is what we have to do. We have to face the fear, but our perspective, because of the fear, makes it feel like it's a million miles away.
Sure, it skews your perspective.
But it's really right there, and it's right in your face, and it's pretty much the simplest thing. The path with least resistance is simple. You know, it's hard to stay good on that path and do the right thing, but if you manifest and you vibrate high, you'll stay in this. This place is supposed to be a place of good, a place of love and beauty, and not working 40 hours to 80 hours a week, breaking your neck, breaking your back for the system, fighting things in court, lawyers and doctors and expenses and money. No, this is some BS.
Yeah, we're supposed to have everything we want. We just have to think we can have everything we want.
Remember, somewhere within here, Reptilian, there was a takeover of some kind to change.
Yeah, I heard what you said.
To change the
okay.
conscious what? What?
You snuck it in, reptilian. Yeah, okay.
So after feeling this jump, I started feeling like, oh, like this is amazing. Well, on the next ledge, which it was explaining now your fourth density, fifth density, the next jump is not a jump. It's like a step over.
Sure.
And it's incredible. So that's what we're doing right now, actually. I find that that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's a shift in consciousness.
So up from that giant crater that I just jumped, a tree started growing. I seen the roots growing into my chest, with me now laying in bed. The roots grew into my chest, through my chest, then down into the floor. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then upward into the densities. Mm-hmm. And it was explaining to me, as above, so below. Do you notice yourself now? Mm-hmm. I said, well, I'm grounded to earth through the roots, but I'm reaching for the sky, the higher density layers. And I had already sat with Source, and I've been on multi-layers. I've talked to Isis.
Density beings.
I've seen a bunch of crazy beings running around. I mean, it's been an insane ride at this point. I had to get rid of the personal demons. I mean, all these things are real, and you have to. If you're going to break the hold, I suggest going into your layers and breaking the hold from every layer. Yeah, it's almost like disconnecting the cord that has been holding you back in every single layer, and then collecting knowledge from your fractal self, because it's all you. So you just pull the knowledge in. You look inward for all knowledge. Don't pray outward for some being to come and give you the knowledge. Pray inward. Look inward for it, and you have the knowledge. You are the creator. The knowledge is in you. When you realize it, you go on the other side and you start looking around. You created all this. You were part of the whole thing. You could call yourself a co-creator, part of it, but you're an individual as well as part of the big whole. So when you see these things, you become an observer instead of fearful because look what it looks like, and look, it just came up to me, or going, I'm the creator, back the F up. You don't do that as well. You sit in the pocket and you observe and you smile and you say, I love you. And the whole thing bends to you. And everyone can do this.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Every one of us can do it. I don't know. I'm sure there's other beings that do it as well. And there's definitely a bunch that don't. Reptilian. That feel like, and I don't mean to hit on them like that. I just feel like at one point they're a physical overlord to the deception of humans in the White House supposedly being in control. These things run in the background. There's
good and bad and everything.
And there's good and bad. Okay.
Let's keep it moving.
No, so we watched Jurassic Park the other night.
Yes, right? That movie terrified me.
Okay. During the movie, it was the newest one.
Yeah, we just saw a few minutes of it.
So the Raptors were running around with the human, and I was explaining that I had seen these specific beings that looked like raptors before, and they're horrifying. And when I saw them, I was like transported somewhere where they were being corrected for mistakes, for being so violent. They were so violent. And I remember going over to this bubble, and I'm like, these things are real? Like, I thought it was just the dinosaur. And then when I looked, they were people. It was like a humanoid dinosaur man that had the face of the raptor and will eat you, but is highly intelligent. And then a being said to me, and they fly in spaceships and go to dimensions, and they do everything you do and way more.
Except they don't wear pants.
No, they had bodysuits on, and they had small tails, but they were like, they eat humans. They'll eat anything. They'll eat flesh, so to speak. Yeah. And we're weak looking to them, but there's things that we can do that they can't. Like go sit with Source.
Discern.
These characters only go into like a fourth layer, fifth layer where the AI sits. They all believe the AI is the high intelligence.
Probably.
Is the source. Your ego doesn't allow you. So these beings that are made of pure ego, the reptiles have that there's a sect of the reptiles that are very ego-based, with being that no matter how technologically developed you are, spiritually you can't develop past a certain point unless you drop your ego. Well, that's at least how I see it from my perspective.
No, that's
So I see, once again, Ender's Game, Jurassic Park. Why in every Jurassic Park movie do they have just the raptors over and over and over again? Like, they always made a big deal of just those specific ones. They threw other ones in there too, but they were always like a main ingredient. But when you see these things, they look almost exactly like the raptors from the movie, except they have jumpsuits on and they stand up a little straighter and they make other sounds like they're communicating.
I'm sure that's equally, if not more, terrifying.
I was more frightened of them than I was of meeting the reptilians themselves, like the Watchers. The Watchers were scary, giant 8-foot humanoid lizards with muscle, and you'd say these things, we could just beat up everybody. Swords and shields, they beat everybody if we were using guns. That's how crazy it was looking. These beings were so much scarier because they can just eat you with their face. They didn't have the little T-Rex arms. They had arms that could extend out and grab you like, oh, got you. I'm telling you, it gets scary. So they sprinkle this in everything.
Sure.
I'm sure E.T., the extraterrestrial, was like one of the little characters. They just add the little glowing finger, and he likes Reese's Pieces. You have Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where it's basically like the little beings, the little white, representative of something that happened where the humans let a bunch of scientists go with the aliens, and the aliens came here.
Warner Brothers, Marvin the Martian, was a small Martian man.
Yes, he was. And he was really awesome.
Yeah.
And it represented Planet X, by the way. Right? So there you have another reference to Planet X. This has been going on for so long, and it's sprinkled in everything. All right, there's a new movie, Jupiter Ascending, where...
That's an old movie now. It's not a new movie.
Well, I don't mean...
Oh, no. It is a new movie. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of another movie. I'm sorry.
That movie, they have the reptilians in it, except when I saw the reptilians, they didn't have giant wings and stuff. Like, they didn't look like flying dragons. But everything else that they looked like was pretty close. It was pretty realistic. There's beings with like triangle-shaped heads. They're angular. I don't want to say just triangle, but they're like Arcturians who have this weird shaped head. And they're like super high and intelligent. But you can mistake these beings, by the way, for like a gray, but there's like peach looking, like they have like skin color aliens that look just like the gray ones, but they're good. And the other ones are made of like a plant and insect mix. Don't have like an oversoul within it, kind of a biological robot, an android of some kind that works for a collective with giant, let's say 8-foot tall, skinny white aliens running. Okay. I try to connect all the dots to all the different ones because people know of all the different aliens. The Pleiadians are also that we have to connect to us, right? Then there's the blue version of them as well. Right? I went into a past and I saw we were blue. And I said, what is this? And Pleiadian. But then there's Pleiadians that aren't the shade of blue. They kind of look like us. Offshoots of mixtures of us and them. You have the tall whites, the tall, the Nordics. These are all mixes, genetic DNA mixtures with us. Then you have Inner Earth, interdimensional, multi-universe. I mean, it just goes on. And the fractals, versions of you over and over and over again, and all these other beings and all these different things happening. I wouldn't be surprised if Marvin the Martian was real. I've seen beings that look like little. They're like 3 feet tall, maybe smaller than 3 feet tall, and they wear really cool outfits like spacesuits. There's a couple. I talked about this on one of the shows, and they came out in a little spaceship that looked like a giant eyeball. I was like, oh, we're gonna die.
What about the little Martian on the Flintstones? Do you remember him? The little one that Fred Flintstone sees every now and then?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that little Martian reminded me of a genie for some reason.
Yeah.
It had like genie qualities. But that's for a whole nother. They're jinn, genie, that all that stuff is real. They're different from demons. There's different levels of dark entities. There's all kinds of light entities everywhere. And then there's neutral. There's things that'll interact with you nicely, things that just want you, they just hate you. They're just as far away from being your friend as possible. You know, and there's physical ones that just directly interact with us on this planet right now. They'll say they're shape-shifting lizards. I don't know if I believe in that too much. I think that's more of a tech. You know, we would have outfits to make us invisible. They would have tech at this point. I mean, The Final Battle, the TV show, had the lizards and they had the human skin and they ripped the skin and the lizard was underneath. So we don't even know. It could be some kind of prosthetic skin over them. I just think it's a bloodline, personally.
I don't think it matters if we know the specifics, but if we are willing to accept the idea that there is another race. Well, I don't know what you would call them. Other entities out there.
But there's everything.
I think it's the awareness that there are other entities out there.
What freaks you out more, knowing that they're out there or knowing that everything is out there? Like, you know, right now, though, if a UFO landed, it would just be like, oh, look, a little green man right there. And then you go, okay, so there's an alien. But the truth really is, it all
exists. Yeah, but that's hard for a lot of people. But I am a student of Dolores Cannon and Esther and Jerry Hicks Abraham and, you know, Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay, and I believe that it all has to be real. If you can believe that some of it is real, it all has to be real, and I take comfort in that.
I find that to be, it's overwhelming at first, and then I love it. Because there's never going to be nothing to be interested in, ever.
No, because if you can create something, if you can manifest something with that much horror or hate, you can manifest something with that much beauty and love. Because it all can be thought. Anything that has ever been thought, anything that can be thought has already been thought. So you can equally manifest. You can manifest good. You can manifest bad. Everything is equal. Oh, equal. So so we're talking about equal. So in my astrology chart, Kristy says that you and I are like scales balancing. It's our rising signs and our suns and our moons and planets, and so we are equals. We're like a yin and yang, and we're like equal scales on
right.
Scales on a scale, like a weight scale. So I was telling you this the other night, and what did you come up with, the superhero? Because you always make superhero analogies. Who are we?
The Wonder Twins.
Oh, that's right.
Zan and
that's
Jaina.
right. That's right.
Wonder Twin powers activate. Form of.
But that's what this is like.
A water snake, shape of
pussycat.
But that's the truth, though. You could manifest, and I guess that we could shape change, and I mean, nothing is out of reach. No. They told me it will just take time to learn that stuff. Like I threw some outrageous stuff at them, like, oh, let's just start with something simple. Oh, so I could fly. And they were like, yeah, of course you could fly. You can get in a plane, you could go fly because you guys created planes. Mm-hmm. See, that's how it works. Yeah. Or you can develop how to fly. You could fly out of your body. There's all different ways to fly. Then they were like, why fly if you can teleport? Mm-hmm. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, it's easier for you to teleport and just go. Or just keep your body there and send your soul out. Yeah. And they'll travel and you'll experience it. And they said, is that better than flying? But you'll still be able to learn flying, but it'll take you 550,000 years though at your rate. And I said, oh my God, a lowercase g. I said, I'll just go with the teleportation right now. Yeah. But then we have such short lifespans. Yeah. That it's hard to believe that could be possible. But we are in the containers that if we clear ourselves up, can pull stuff off. Yes, we do have to remember we are spiritual beings trapped in human bodies. We are not humans having spiritual experiences. We are spiritual beings having human experiences in these human bodies. So we're limited by our bodies, not our mind. Right, exactly. So really quick, because we're getting into the end of the show. The show goes by so fast sometimes.
I know. Now it's like it's not enough time.
This was the last thing that happened to me, though. I laid down and I noticed that these 2 snakes came out from like my groin area.
Mm-hmm.
They jumped up. One was blue, one was green.
Well, that's your sacral chakra.
They came up and then dove into me, but their mouths were open like, I'm going to eat you. And I said, oh no, more things eating me. And I didn't know what a Kundalini was. I didn't know what's the deal with the snakes and the lizards and being part of us. Everything seems to... These things start diving into me, and they get real close to my face, like they're coming up and coming out of me, like they're jumping out of the water. And they said, do you want this? And I said, yes, because it felt great. It looked horrifying. They didn't look like snakes. They looked like dragons without wings,
right?
But with a long snake body. They looked almost metallic, almost like crystals.
Mm-hmm. And they were helpful, right?
Oh, they're amazing.
Yeah. Reptilian helpful.
And
subliminal.
Shedding my skin. They ate the old layer off of me, the insects. I got cleared out. I met and found the evolution of the different species and beings out there and how hard it actually is, made the leap of faith, came back around, and now they said, you're ready. I had all this work done in previous sessions with my chakras.
And what are you ready for?
My Kundalini to rise, and the snakes come through me. They, until recently, they would rest within me. They came up and around like almost like the snakes on the hospital sign, like this 2 snakes that come around they do that. But now they come out of my palms. I know this sounds so weird, but it can't be any weirder than anything else I've said.
Yeah.
But there's slits in your palms, and they could come out and they can help others.
Yeah.
They can help quite a lot of things. I've seen them do things like reinforce barriers for protection, keep things away from you. They'll attack things that'll fly in and get too close. They seem to know what's good and bad immediately, so you don't have to really have that fear. That's why I'm losing my fear with this, because it gets easier and easier. You just have to sit in the pocket more and smile and meditate at them and go, yes, I am happy, I'm here, and they go to work on you.
Yeah.
So... let's see, how much time do we have?
I think being receiving of the information that's coming is what makes being in the receptive mode for the information is what makes it easier to accept all of the information that you're receiving now.
Absolutely. And to give a definition on this, the Kundalini is your untapped and dormant energy that, when awakened, gives you infinite power to shape and create the life that you desire. When the Kundalini awakens within, the energy flows smoothly through your body, creating health and vitality within. Holla. That's a good start right there. I was so proud of myself after the experience. I cried. And then I laughed like a crazy person.
Yeah, but crying and laughing is good.
They told me.
You're shedding emotion, negative or positive emotion. It doesn't matter if you're crying or laughing. Or it doesn't matter if you're crying happy tears.
That's what it was. It was like a happy cry.
It doesn't matter. You're releasing emotion. Yeah.
And the crazy part is that when you wake up from this and see what's going on, I suggest, if anyone out there wants to do this, like, look into it and do it. Go for it. If you're being called to it, go do it. It's going to be the most amazing thing you can do for yourself. You would never think that there's this much more, but there is more. Thank you, everybody. We love you. True Frequency Radio, your protection from deception. See you next Saturday night. And may the sauce be with you.
I'm trying to find my second thing so I can make some